Hello everybody, welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, and I'll start with a couple of announcements. We're getting to the end of the special offer for annual plan, which is everything we do here for a low price. So if you love learning from us and you want to take almost all the courses we offer, as long as they're not through our school, but that's still hours and hours and hours of programming, send me an email. And then we are taking enrollments for a fall diet and lifestyle course. The catalog is on the website, and so it's time to get enrolled. I can't believe we're talking about fall. It seems like it was just Memorial Day yesterday. I'm adding something new. In August, because the response to my gut microbiome and probiotics workshop was so huge, I decided to do a GI boot camp. That's not like G.I. Joe. That's gastrointestinal boot camp. We're going to do it on Friday, August 5th from 7 to 9 and Saturday, August 6th from 2 to 5. It's $99 and for the training, and there will be slides. We'll record it as usual, but there will be live interactive instructions so we can talk about GI issues. And we're going to talk about colon cancer and colonoscopy and gallbladder disease and reflux and all kinds of cool stuff. So anyway, those are things that are coming up that you should pay attention to. And of course, fall conference this year. We have more people registered for conference now than attended conference last year, so it's going to be sold out. If you are planning on joining us, check it out at wellnessfarmhealth.com. Who's coming? It is going to be an amazing thing, and it's our 20th anniversary. I am really excited about that. I think 20 years in business is like a big deal, you know? All right, so I'm going to give you some interesting news to start with. I love what I'm going to talk about next. According to data from 188 countries, over 90% of the burden of stroke, that's the cost and all the other things associated with it, is attributable to diet and lifestyle habits. And these include smoking, poor diet, lack of physical activity, as well as conditions related to these habits like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and overweight status. Researchers used data from the Global Burden of Disease Study 2013, which included all different age groups from low, medium, and high income countries between 1990 and 2013. And they basically concluded we can prevent stroke if we just get people to change their behavior. This one shows really huge reduction. Well, there's good reason to pay attention to this. Stroke is a devastating disease. According to the Centers for Disease Control, about 795,000 Americans have a stroke every year. 130,000 die. And 185,000 of those strokes are in people who already had a stroke. This is a second or a third one. Stroke is the leading cause of disability in the United States, fifth leading cause of death, and the CDC says that while risks increase with age, we see a lot, in fact 34% of people hospitalized with stroke are under 65 years old. In case you don't know, stroke occurs when blood supply to the brain is significantly reduced and the brain is deprived of oxygen. And in a really short period of time, I mean it doesn't take much time at all, brain cells start to die, and then functions controlled by the affected area of the brain like memory and motor control are lost. The extent of the damage depends on where the stroke occurs, how much of the brain is affected, and the resulting impairment can be mild, such as just muscle weakness, or it can be significant, paralysis of one side of the body, complete and total loss of speech. Over 2/3 of stroke patients have some type of lasting disability as a result of their stroke. Primary risk factors for stroke are high cholesterol, high blood pressure, being overweight. All of those things are affected by diet. Drugs are commonly used to treat hypertension and high cholesterol, but it's shocking how ineffective these treatments are. They treat the biomarker, they just don't have much effect on what you're trying to do, which is to prevent events and death. Statin drugs reduce the risk of cardiovascular events, including stroke, by less than 2%, and aggressive lowering of blood pressure with drugs is ineffective. Some studies show that the drugs have no effect, others show that they do more harm than good. One study that included over 26,000 people reported that patients who were treated successfully, and I would put air quotes around that, meaning their systolic pressure was lowered to 140 or lower, still had a high risk of stroke, and the more drugs they took, the higher the risk of stroke was. And so that's why I put air quotes around successful. Lower markers, not much better outcome. On the other hand, studies that have looked at diet and lifestyle factors show that the more healthy habits a person has, the lower the risk of stroke. Plant-based diets have been shown to effectively address all the risk factors I mentioned: blood pressure, cholesterol, weight, glucose levels. and to reduce the incidence of cardiovascular events by as much as 70%. That's just from the diet. Plant-based diets have been shown to reverse atherosclerosis, a marker for stroke as well. One research group wrote, quote, physicians should consider recommending a plant-based diet to all of their patients, especially those with high blood pressure, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, or obesity. Well, all of this information confirms that the risk of stroke can be significantly reduced by doing the right things. You have to address the diet and lifestyle habits that lead to stroke. So what I thought would be fun to do is, what if we could get everybody in the United States to do what we teach here? Okay, here's what the numbers would look like. Instead of 795,000 strokes a year, we'd have 75,500. Instead of 130,000 deaths, there would be 13,000. And disability from stroke would drop from 524,700 to only 52,700. And costs would be reduced from 34 billion to 3.4 billion. I mean, think about that. And these are much better outcomes than you see with drugs. Just the few studies I cited here will tell you that. This particular article has 14 references. It will be posted in the Health Briefs library by the time you're watching this. If you're not a subscriber, the number's on the screen, call us. All right, the other thing, this is going to be a short one. No wonder people are confused about diet. The New York Times featured an article a while back titled "Butter is Back," in which the author cited research showing that eating saturated fat does not increase the risk of heart disease. Then the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee in February of 2015 said that cholesterol was no longer, quote, a nutrition of concern for overconsumption. Well, you look at this kind of stuff and somebody could reasonably conclude it must be okay to just eat as much animal food as I like and as much saturated fat and cholesterol as I want to. On the other hand, we, Caldwell Esselstyn, John McDougall, Colin Campbell, many others continue to advise people to eat a diet very low in fat. So which is right? Well, I think the evidence is on our side, but a new study shows that the evidence is on our side. This involved looking at dietary habits of over 120,000 men and women from 1980 to 2012, and it showed that diets high in saturated fat were associated with higher mortality rates. I don't think most people find that shocking. Not surprisingly, the study also showed that trans fat was linked to higher mortality rates. But the study also showed that reducing fat and then replacing that fat with an increased intake of refined and processed foods high in sugar, that increased mortality rate. And so that really goes to one of the pitfalls of converting to a plant-based diet, which is sometimes we end up with a plant-based, vegan junk food diet. And so I think that needs to be paid attention to. We're talking about whole foods when we're talking about plant-based diet. We're not talking about candy bars with a little bit of tofu added and all that sort of thing. According to Ian Johnson at the Institute of Food Research, recently a number of books and opinion pieces have popularized the idea that conventional dietary advice has been shown to be wrong. There's nothing in these results consistent with the notion that butter is back. So we've archived thousands of studies on our server that document the positive effects of eating a plant-based diet, low in fat, high in fiber, made of whole foods. We'll just add this to the list, and the bottom line, I'll keep saying the same thing because while you can find a study that supports anything you want to say, it's all about the preponderance of the evidence, and it's on our side. All right, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.